As we welcome you into NFL Live. Mina Kimes, Lewis Riddick, Peter Schrager, Field Yates joins us. Adam Schefter will be with us throughout. We've got a lot to get to, you guys. We'll, of course, update you on everything happening behind us. Anybody does anything similar to what Sonny Styles did yesterday, you're going to find out about it, although I'm not sure that's happening. It was absolutely incredible. All right, we're going to start with Adam Schefter and some news on George Pickens. Adam, what is the latest there?
Laura, the Dallas Cowboys officially have used their franchise tag on George Pickens to the tune of over $27 million. This is not expected to be a simple negotiation. The two sides have until July 15th to work out a long-term extension. If they can't work out a long-term extension by July 15th, Pickens would be assured of playing this upcoming season on a one-year deal before becoming a free agent again. Let's remember, his agent is David Mulgeta, same agent that represented Micah Parsons last year. The two sides are not close to an agreement. We'll see if they could bridge any of their differences to find a way to get a long-term deal done. If they can't, we might not see George Pickens show at any of the offseason activities. He cannot show up until he signs that franchise tender, which is not expected soon.
Feels like all too familiar with the Cowboys. A lot more news from Adam coming throughout the show. Lewis, where do you see these negotiations going from here?
Wow, I mean, this is going to be interesting. I think we'll all probably echo the same types of opinions about this situation. Look, one of the things that teams are always very cognizant of, very aware of, is the difference that you see between a player who is trying to secure a long-term contract when they're on a contract year, and then what their performance looks like as soon as they do secure a long-term contract. Do you think for a second that the Dallas Cowboys aren't thinking about that with George Pickens? He knew what he was going down there for. He knew what he was after, and he put together a freaking fantastic year, okay? A fantastic year, a career year for him, one that right now, you know, rightfully so, has him looking at himself as being a plus $30 million per year type of wide receiver. And he should be looking at it like that. For Dallas, they're looking at it like this, okay? If we give him $35 million per year, what are we going to get then after that? Are we going to get someone who continues to toe the line, do the right things, perform at a high level like he did when he was on his contract year? These are real conversations that front offices have.
In terms of addressing the defensive side of the ball. I understand why they want to keep George Pickens in the building. This was a top 5 offense last year when he was on the field, even when Lamb missed a fair amount of games, and he was spectacular, and he's so good with Dak, who's, of course, a quarterback in his prime. However, if you are spending that kind of money on offense, you got to hit on all of your draft picks. They have 2 in the first round, and there are needs at multiple positions on that defense. Linebacker, edge, nickel, safety. Okay, I'm basically naming every defense.
The entire defense.
But outside of defensive tackle, which is, of course, their strength. So, this is a team that has drafted well over the last few years. They're going to have to draft exceptionally well if they go this route with Pickens and keep him in offense.
This is part of the collective bargaining agreement that the teams can do this. They can tag you. And in this case, no real player of this caliber, the way that George Pickens played, wants to be tagged. However, he will make top 5 money this year, $29-30 million. We'll see what the salary cap does moving forward. The fact of the matter is this. We have been so accustomed to these off seasons of Cowboys drama, and by slapping the tag on them, you're not avoiding that at all. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process, and if you watch Get Up and First Take and you're sick of hearing, oh, Cowboys all summer, Cowboys all... Just wait, because I don't think George Pickens is the guy who's going to show up at OTAs and say, with his lunch pail and say, okay, let's go to work. I mean, no, I think it's going to be one of those deals where it's going to drag on, and drag on. And at the end of the day, it might be September when we finally see and have an absolute decision whether he's on the field or not.
Lewis, when you think about other teams that would want to get George Pickens, there's a laundry list of teams that would line up for that, right? And the Cowboys, Mina mentioned how many holes they need to fill on defense. Is this a scenario where you see somebody come out of the woodwork and tries to come get Pickens to help their roster?
I mean, sure, everyone's going to kick the tires on this, but obviously there is a look, and I don't try to say this disparagingly towards George Pickens, but there is a little bit of still a buyer beware that's attached with George, okay? Because we know when he's motivated and he's trying to secure a long-term contract, this is what you get. You get a dude who can absolutely rip you apart. And then when you give someone that kind of guaranteed money, it can change the entire calculus in terms of how they approach their craft. We've seen it happen in the past. I've lived through it during my days way back in the dinosaur years of being in the front office. So it's just one of those situations where, look, he is a fantastic talent. We know what the wide receiver needy teams are. I mean, I don't know. Could you see George Pickens in New England with Mike Vrabel in that offense? Of course you could. You think Buffalo? I mean, every receiver that comes across the board, Buffalo's going, could we take a look at that guy? Yeah, there would be suitors that would be lined up. It would just be one of those where it's just like, hey, hold on to your butts. Let's see what happens here.
I mean, even in a deep receiver class, George Pickens, a class all his own. You're not a dinosaur, Lewis, okay? So
I said dinosaur year.
Okay, got it.
I wasn't,
You weren't referring to yourself.
No, not at all.
Pickens, by the way, led all players this season in catches and yards on tight window throws. Reminder, tight window throw less than a yard of separation. Let's turn our attention to the quarterbacks here. And Fernando Mendoza making his entrance here at the Combine today, the expected #1 overall pick. Indiana quarterback, of course. He's not going to throw tomorrow with the quarterback group. I asked him about that decision earlier today, and here's how he explained it.
I had 16 times to compete this season. I believe I made the most of all 16 opportunities. And the national championship happened January 19th. So it's basically less than a month ago, or about a month ago. And at that point, I wanted a time, a week to relax and then to start preparing. And I have 8 guys on my pro day, whether it's receivers, tight ends, and running backs. I'm going to save my throws for them and help my teammates the best I can.
That's great. What have your conversations been like with the Raiders?
I had a formal interview with the Raiders. It was great. The coaching staff was in there. They were grilling me with some questions about my film, about their installs, and it was a great meeting. It was a great meeting, and I can't thank them enough for requesting a formal interview, and looking forward to interviewing more.
Have you talked to Tom Brady?
When I first went into the formal interview, Tom Brady was on the phone. So I was able to tell him, hey, on the phone for a couple seconds, and it was great. It was a fantastic opportunity. Look forward to meeting him in person one day, hopefully.
You've always proven so much throughout your career. Your journey's been so remarkable. What is left to prove for you as you embark on this next chapter?
Oh, there's so much. The college chapter was fantastic. It was fantastic. I'm really happy how it ended. Winning a national championship, that was great. However, that chapter's behind. And now I got to try to start climbing the ranks with my new team and start trying to climb the ranks as a player and try to prove myself in the league and have some equity in the league as far as being a good teammate, being a good player, and all other things that comes with the opportunity of playing in the NFL.
Just such a fun. We got Eric back here, by the way. I had an audio issue. No worries. He's the GOAT. Okay, anyway.
On the fly.
Fernando Mendoza, what a joy to be around. That was so much fun. Mina, when you think about Mendoza, though, in this Raiders offense, Clint Kubiak coming in there as the head coach, how does he fit as it stands right now?
I just can't help smiling when I watch him. He just never stops smiling himself, and what a nice young man is all you think when you watch him talk. He's a nice young man who's very freaking accurate, and that is the first thing that comes to mind when I think about his fit in a Clint Kubiak offense. When he throws outs, back shoulders, he might as well be handing it off. And so that's something, obviously, that's very prized for that particular scheme. He has the athleticism and arm talent to throw on the move. I think he's a smart quarterback. The only question for me is just whether or not, and I think he can, but the play under center, that offense, and we saw this, of course, in Seattle with Sam Darnold, the boot game is so fundamental to what they do. And I would say the ability to boot, by the way, in both directions and make throws on the move. And so that's something you're going to want to see from Mendoza. It's not that he can't do it. It's just he wasn't asked to do it like many college quarterbacks in Indiana. So there might be a little bit of an adjustment period, but I do think he's completely capable of it.
I think we saw, just this past year in particular, we saw how Mac Jones can really operate this style of offense. Fernando's a better athlete than Mac, and just in terms of the way that they move. I'm not saying either one of them is going to remind you of Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders as far as athletic ability. But look, Fernando, you're right. Look, I agree. The guy is a technician back there as far as what they asked him to do. His ball handling in the RPO game, I thought, was pristine. He rarely made bad decisions. He can get the ball out fast. He can throw the football accurately at all 3 levels. I have no issues with how much he pushed the ball to the outside, whether it be on the slot fades, on the speed outs, on the 7 routes. Because you know what? That's a lot of times. That's what we criticize quarterbacks for not being able to do in the pros.
Yeah, right.
He can't throw it outside the numbers. He has to always stay inside the numbers. He can throw the football inside the numbers. You've seen him hit the seam shots repeatedly. I have no questions about this dude. And I don't think the Raiders, quite honestly, when this is all over, I don't think they're going to have many either.
I'm just trying to think of this kid's 12 months. And I say kid almost flippantly, but like 12 months ago, I don't know if we would have even thought that Fernando Mendoza would be at the Combine, let alone being the #1 pick in the draft. Last night, I wasn't there, but people were. St. Elmo's Steakhouse, the big spot in town.
I was there.
You were there?
I saw this.
Mendoza walked in, and Laura, you could tell the story. Apparently, everyone who works on the staff stop, put down their plates and put down their jobs and their server trays, and everyone gave him a standing ovation as he walked in as the Indiana legend. Now, of course, the football media, us slobs, everyone just kept on eating the steaks and the shrimp. But no, the staff, they were appreciative for what he did. I just think to have the humility he has, to be as grounded as he is, considering the 12 months that he just endured, where he took Indiana football, a 105-year program, to the best season they've ever had, from the ashes, putting them on his back, and then still having a smile and being humble enough and being just grateful enough to be in this opportunity. I think he's got the world ahead of him. Personality is there. The football, that'll come. But as a first overall pick, you can't go wrong taking Fernando Mendoza.
By the way, I was eating shrimp cocktail. You have to do that at St. Elmo's. But when he came through, you're right, the staff started cheering, and then he got into the second room of St. Elmo's. If you've ever been there, you know about it. And the entire place erupted. And he loved it. He wasn't just trying to walk right through. He's waving at everybody. I asked him about it today, and he was like, this place, this state means so much to me. Just a really special young man that we're all going to get to watch at the next level. Also, shout out to our crew here at the Combine. We got technical issues. It's like a little pit stop around here. Nothing gets by these amazing people. So we appreciate everybody here helping us out, especially Eric Lunston, who was behind my chair. All right, we got more coming your way.